Civil Engineering Today. I'm Anna Christina Fregoso.
And I'm Reed Brockman.
And we're brought to you by the Boston Society of Civil Engineers. And we love all our guests. We think they're all special, of course. But we do have a very special guest with us. His name is Matt Bosch-Willet. He's a structural engineer at WSP Parsons Brinckerhoff. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
And I also work at WSP Parsons Brinckerhoff, so I see him all the time. So
And the competition.
I'm going to make him look good. In any case, a few years ago, we often, whenever the ASC, the American Society of Civil Engineers, releases a report card as to how the country's infrastructure is doing, we have done a show on it. And I believe it was the 2012 show.
Yeah.
Was the last time.
We just want to throw it out that we are entering our second decade of this show.
Yes. We did our special anniversary, 10-year anniversary show last month, so this is our first show of the decade, new decade, I don't know what to say. But whenever the report card has been released, there's been a push to look at the actual cost of things. And so what the American Society of Civil Engineers did in 2012 was they included an initiative that was an economic study called Failure to Act, which is what it would really cost us if we didn't start paying attention to our infrastructure. And it's kind of a hot topic now, especially during political years.
better
It's finally, well, we've been doing this for 10 years, as we said, and we've talked about infrastructure since day one. We have talked about infrastructure and its needs and how it's been slowly getting worse and worse and worse. And we had the show where we had the economist from the American Society of Civil Engineers that did the report on the show, and it was very enlightening. But since then, and Matt is also a member on the committee, the Boston Society Government Affairs Committee, and he volunteered to put together and do a study that focused really on local economics and what it would cost. So tell us what the initiative was, how it came about, what were your goals?
Yeah, certainly. So again, as you mentioned, we were inspired by the Failure to Act series by ASCE, and we wanted to try to do something similar on a more local level, more state level, as part of our efforts to communicate with our legislators, communicate with the public, and let them know what the real cost of our deteriorating infrastructure is.
Just in Massachusetts.
Just focusing on Massachusetts.
It's a lot less scary than those
also-
billion-dollar zeros.
I mean, the word infrastructure means like everything that we've ever built in the world. So you guys honed it down a little bit, right? What are the main topics?
Yeah, so based on availability of data and previous studies that we could compile and then use to produce this brochure, we focus mostly on water and wastewater, transportation, especially roads and bridges, and transit. We also try to address the energy just in light of recent energy projects that have been hitting the headlines these days.
Okay, and then I know also another part of the study also highlighted some projects that have been done and have seen the, because now I think there's a value, you have to show the value added to a project. People like to see that included when you put forth a proposal. You're like, okay, if you do this with the infrastructure, this is going to happen and you're going to start to bring in more revenue, more jobs, blah, blah, blah. So there was that aspect also. It covered a few projects.
Yeah, certainly. We tried to address a few like high-profile projects, things everyone would recognize, such as the Accelerated Bridge Program, for instance,
right.
Which has been alive since 2008, and the communities have been seeing how that's been impacting them. We also
just for people that don't know, let's name a couple of the big things on the.
So the Accelerated Bridge Program includes things like the Longfellow Bridge. It's included a lot of rehab bridges on like I-495 and other major highways, I-95, particularly the 93 Fast 14. That's
yes.
the
that got a lot of praise.
The pinnacle project.
Yeah, we have had a few guests on for that, and also I think Malik Al-Khatib, that bridge, we did a show on the MBTA replacement bridge a few months ago, and that was also part of the Fast Bridge program. But just to focus it, because like I said, the show was several years ago, I think 2012, but the Failure to Act. Tell us what you know, like the basics, like how much is the U.S. spending on infrastructure as opposed to other countries? And then maybe if you know Massachusetts, how much is Massachusetts to other states? Or if that's not, I mean, I know that you hear all the time, certain politicians will like to quote that China is spending like 9%.
10% here, 5% there,
right. And how much is Mass spending, or how much is the U.S. at least spending?
So the U.S. as a whole in general is spending approximately 2% of our gross domestic product on infrastructure. And I believe that figure includes everything from federal spending down to state level spending.
Okay.
So Massachusetts by itself, including state and local level spending in each community, each town, is around 1.5%. So we're about on par with what the U.S. is doing on the whole.
1.5%.
So
That seems so
when I
little.
say spending it on infrastructure, that's a combination of new infrastructure and maintaining existing infrastructure?
Correct. So it's a combination of new infrastructure, maintaining existing, purchasing equipment for doing maintenance and repairs, and replacing old equipment at wastewater treatment plants, things of that nature. So it's a combination. Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that we've been doing this show for so long, talking about infrastructure for so long, and we really haven't moved that number up. So 1.5%. So I really think it could be a little bit more. But that's coming from me, who I would love everything new and functioning fantastically, perfect. But I know. Did you have any? Actually, I think you brought a slide, and it does kind of point out. Oh, you say 1.67. That's what we're spending in Massachusetts.
Yes.
And I know on this slide also kind of talks about what you found we have for needs. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or where the sources cited?
Yeah, certainly. So probably the most high profile would be, like roads and bridges. There have been a few studies. I believe it was the Cost of Doing Nothing, which was produced by the Boston Foundation. Studied our state's current spending on transportation infrastructure and what we need to spend in order to raise it to a state of good repair. And I won't qualify the figure. I'll just state it's around. We should be spending around $1 billion extra per year than we are right now. I think the DOT budget is somewhere around $3 billion. I think for maintenance and new infrastructure projects, all totaled, all across the state. So there's a fair bit extra that needs to go into our infrastructure.
Yeah,
That's a big percent.
That's a big percentage, yes.
it is a big percentage. But I think at the same time, I think a lot of the problems come because Massachusetts is such a weird blend of urban and rural needs that it's difficult to divide the money up. And I think that's probably what a lot of senators fight for and representatives. I mean, I don't know. I'm not on the House floor, but I feel like, to represent their district and its needs when you have some towns with tiny populations versus Boston, your Worcesters, your Springfield.
Right. Some of the
Lowells.
infrastructure, as you get more spread out, the infrastructure needs at least, not that they don't have tons of infrastructure needs, but sometimes the solutions can be, is that true? They could be cheaper solutions to some of the infrastructure problems you have. Things aren't as complicated. Building a project in an open space is much easier than.
Well, I think they have to
putting it in
legislate
a
for every
city.
money they get for public projects, public work projects, correct? There has to be legislation passed? Or is it
I'm not
gets the
100%
bullet?
certain on that.
Oh, okay, I think maybe they just get the budget, certain entities like Mass DOT, and then they divide it up from there. So that would probably make it easier, but I can't imagine the fights that go on between transit versus auto versus bike versus pedestrian versus rail. Like, oh, that must be fun days for those people in the house. So I know that there were recently some projects, as we said, that show an immediate turnaround in revenue. And this is the one thing that has been coming to light. I kind of, I missed the big dig, but it's been coming to light how much the big dig actually brought the city as far as revenue and whatnot. I mean, just developing that seaport district and all the turnaround, they're getting so much more revenues and businesses and jobs. And I know when you look at these transportation needs you're calling, I think you can look at something like the company from GE coming, and they're bringing how many employees? They're cited to bring
Right, well, it's a-
9,000 into the downtown area on trains that are really kind of a limited fixed capacity level. So, I mean, I can't imagine what sort of plans they're coming up with. But the fact that they need money to fix what they have and keep it running smoothly.
I believe the MBTA is looking at a maintenance backlog, just a maintenance backlog of about $3 billion.
Yes.
That's what we found in our studies. Never mind adding additional capacity to, say, the red line or the orange line, especially the green line.
No, yeah, but that's what I'm wondering about. The cars are a fixed length. The platforms are a fixed length. So how would they? I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, we might have to have a show on this. I was actually thinking about this recently a lot when I was in DC. It seemed like their platforms are twice as long as ours. I don't know when the DC subway system was built.
Right, but, well, the DC, it's a much newer system. I mean, our system
Yes,
is
70s, I think.
a good chunk of our system was built by 1930.
Right. So I
It
think the
was
population was what
1895 to
compared to what it
1930.
is now? How
No,
many more
But
people are
also
using the
the
trains?
scale of the population is a difference in the
That's what I'm
demand, too.
saying.
Now,
Yeah,
that being
the
said,
capacity level.
they did just extend a lot of the platforms on the Blue Line so they could run
they
6-car
did?
trains instead of 4-car trains.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it happened, I believe, in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But once, most of the blue line is above ground. It's a different world.
Correct.
Okay.
And they still managed to get Aquarium Station and a Maverick Station as well. Were
Right,
both-
Maverick
were
was
both
one
redone.
of them redone, right?
Okay, and in your studies, were you able to maybe put a figure, like a projected figure of how many jobs or revenue would be immediately created versus how long it would take to see any return on investment, or?
So our study wasn't able to get to those kinds of figures. We would really need to hire a specialty firm that would be able to perform that kind of economic analysis. So instead, we focused on on projects that we can already see a lot of investment. So for instance, the Assembly Square
Right.
up on the Orange Line. The station building was around 25-30 million. The public utilities was another on that same order, but it allowed them to do like a $1.5 billion development.
Oh, that was the Assembly Square, and that's
Right, and
Oh, wait.
Assembly Square, look at the number of restaurants and businesses that came because of that. And then, of course, Assembly Square is going to be right next to
the casino.
the casino.
So I think the Somerville's been planning for a while now to
Yeah.
like push towards public transit too.
Well, that's also one of the things that allowed them to succeed like they have is they purposely planned to do mixed-use development.
Right.
They laid out the groundwork, laid out the plans to think ahead to say this is the way we want to shape up. And I mean, look at the success they've had so far.
So shout out to the city of Somerville, right?
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out for that. But actually, is the IKEA still going there? They
don't
are
believe
open.
so.
Oh, they are. They fell out. Oh,
yeah, they found it. But
that's all right. I never shopped at them.
hey, wait, you're on TV.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay. Okay. So, what other sorts of projects have there been? We know the government center station was recently revamped. What happened there?
So Government Center, we wanted to use that as a sort of like a keystone project to show, how much you can benefit at least aesthetically and also accessibility-wise to the public when you do invest in even a very old transit station right in the middle of downtown. Certainly, they had to close the station down for 2 years to do it, but now you have natural lighting into the Green Line platforms.
It is kind of beautiful. We're looking at a slide of it here. It is kind of pretty. So there's a lot more natural light too.
On natural light, they have elevators to access both the Green Line and the Blue Line platforms, I believe. So they provide full accessibility, and I think they also regraded the platforms to help raise them up more to the same level as the Green Line cars.
Oh, it's been slow, but actually, since my childhood, I can remember like when I was a kid coming into Aquarium Station, that was on the Blue Line. I don't know if you ever, you would probably around when the old Blue Line to the Aquarium Station,
Yeah.
it was just like, the width of the escalator was like maybe 1.5 feet wide, and it went down for like, I don't know, 150, 200 feet. All you saw was like a dark dungeon wall, and then, so the T has been working for sure
I mean,
a
the
while.
South Station one, I mean, it had an escalator with the wooden slats
Really?
bringing you up.
That I didn't know.
That was probably till, I don't know, 1990? Where we
Wow.
had that? And yeah, I mean, I know somebody who, on New Year's Eve with all the people, she slipped on that. She actually got her ear ripped off in that thing.
Yeah.
So that's the bloody, gory part of the show today. Let's get off of that topic.
Wait, no zombie. Now we can't talk about
Yeah,
zombie.
yeah, no
Anyway, we like to try and bring up the zombie apocalypse because we think
Zombie
it's important to have really, really good infrastructure in place at that point. That's going to last a while for afterwards. But anyway, now we got that out of the way already. But there was another project also, the pump storage plant. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What was the intent there? What was the goal and what was the outcome?
So the Northfield Mountains Pump Storage Facility is out in Western Mass, and we wanted to use this to highlight again, another project where the community needs, the community's concerns were done, long before, environmental sensitivity was, shall we say, prevalent in the media and the political spheres. Northfield Mountain was built, late 60s, early 70s.
Really?
And the community was had a lot of environmental concerns, and the energy company actually actively sought to engage with the community to address their concerns.
Wow.
And that actually helped them, enable them to get their project completed faster. And it still meets the energy company's needs, and it meets the community's needs for maintaining a clean environment.
And that's a locally owned company that they took that initiative, or there was public subsidies that helped them out?
I don't really recall.
Okay, all right.
But it's very cool that they actually took the initiative. That's a
Yeah,
good
in
sign.
the 70s and 80s. It's weird. We just had a show last month, our special anniversary show, on the infrastructure changing going on right now in the Fenway area. And it's funny because they're going backwards. They're going back to Olmsted's original design, because I guess hundreds of years ago when he was active, that was his thing. He purposely designed to have like sustainable development and worry about environmental. And it's funny, we're going back to that now. Now, after everything's said and done, and it's good to see, but we have other needs. Other facilities that are taking a look at this and also planning to go this way, or that's something kind of more not really known who's doing it? It's not legislated that they have to do any of these items.
That's true. It's not legislated that they have to do it.
So we just like to highlight them. The goal is to inform people that yes, there's money that can be, you invest in it. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the study, really.
Especially since the Northfield Mountain is not a small facility. I mean, it powers over 1 million homes.
Right.
So
That's serious.
That's probably,
That's a lot of
I believe
homes.
in Massachusetts and Connecticut in particular. But if you think about just the size and the scale of that kind of power project,
Oh yeah.
and at the same time they sought to, make sure that the river levels weren't affected, that the forestation didn't get degraded at all. That's
I think it's
That's what worked.
important. So this study, the name of the study purposely was called the Worth the Investment. That was fun coming up with it, because you didn't want to stay with the failure to act. There was a reason for that.
I think that's mostly because this study doesn't go to the same depth as the National Failure to Act study.
Right.
So we wanted to rework the title to address more specifically what we're trying to drive at with this.
I think it's a more positive and more interesting that you called it worth the investment, because failure to act.
Right, it's got this negative twist to it that
It's got a little bit of a
what's
snotty finger.
Look what's
going.
going to happen. Instead
But
of-
they're right anyway.
Right.
Nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to really talk about it. So who, now I mentioned that you were on the Government Affairs Committee, and I know there were people at BSCES within the organization that also helped with the study other than yourself, although I know you took on a lot of the work, primarily yourself. Can you give them a little shout out? So.
Yeah, so the other volunteers helping me were Tony Punton.
We've had Tony on the show. We love Tony.
Oh, we'd love to have him up here.
Yeah.
Peter Richardson and Jeffrey Schwartz as well. And then Richard Keenan helped coordinate between us and the graphic designer who helped put the final package together.
Now, have you been able to present this anywhere? Is this one of the first times that this is being presented, or? I know that ASCE is also, they were very interested. We have once a year, we try to have our own volunteer groups that go up to the State House and meet with our legislators and talk about these sorts of issues, and this is a tool for us. And we did have a drafted version that was released and we were allowed to use, and I have to say, thank you, it was fantastic to have. But have you been able to present it anywhere else on a larger scale, or are there any plans?
I have not personally. I wouldn't be surprised though if Tony has his own ideas.
Probably, and Peter too.
And Peter too, yeah.
But I think it's important that this word gets out, and this TV show definitely helps because we do put it up on YouTube and we'll try to spread it around. But if there's a game plan, I know that during the year, we do Infrastructure Day. Last year, it was out at the Holyoke at the canals, and Anna Christina was doing all the activities with all the kids all day.
And I broke the shake table.
No, it wasn't. It just the chain came off. I just popped the chain back on. It was up and going.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and that was the last slide that you had. You really wanted to show that it was a new way of thinking as far as worth the investment. So do you want to summarize some of those key points? Or
Certainly.
Or I think this came off the America's report card for America's infrastructure, it says, but this is kind of our goals as well.
We made sure to reference back to the ASC report card, and just in the end, just to highlight again the need for the quote unquote triple bottom line. People, planet, and profit. Like you need to sustain the economy, you need to take care of your people, and we need to keep our planet.
I love that.
In order to sustain ourselves.
That's an improvement over all the past things.
Is it people, planet, property? Is that what it?
People, planet, and profit.
Profit.
People, planet, and profit.
It's good.
How can anyone not like us? No matter what your affiliation.
So while we're talking about saving the planet and saving the people and everything, you guys are doing a wonderful thing in letting the public know the needs of infrastructure, and we want to make sure that the next generation knows, so we run contests.
That's right.
And the Future City competition is what I want to talk about quickly, get a quick thing in. So
Well, we got
the
a theme
books
this
I will
year?
pick up, we got a theme, and it is public spaces. All the students are
public
designing a
spaces.
chain of public spaces with different demands. I pick up the books at the meeting we've got tonight, and then we distribute to all the schools. Any school wanting to get involved, go to futurecity.org. Altogether, futurecity.org, and then the region is New England. We're not just Massachusetts or Boston. We cover all of New England in our region. And just join. Schools join. As many schools as want to join can be in there. And the weekend after Martin Luther King Day, we'll have a big local competition. The winners of that go on to DC.
Yes, I'm very jealous. And then the winners of that go on to space camp.
Then the winners of that go to Space Camp. And a million other prizes.
Public spaces, actually, this is kind of into that area because, if you think about it, I would say that things like the T stations are public for the most part till you cross it, unless you need the services and go down into the actual subway. There's a lot of people that hang in them just for fun.
No, they are public space.
They are. They're considered public.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see what they come up with.
Right. There's a bunch of requirements, like an indoor public space, something that was converted from something that was in bad shape. It's a good topic this year. I'm really interested. This is grades 6, 7, and 8. So all 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, anywhere that is hearing this, even if you're not in the region, anywhere in the world, they actually are having Future City in Egypt and China and in Canada and a whole bunch of places.
Qatar,
if you see this, I don't know about them yet.
Well, they're trying.
But
I know someone who's helping, trying to get it going.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So join.
Yes,
That's all I can
definitely join. Well, we want to thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you,
for
Anna.
coming
Thank
on.
you.
Are there any plans to keep doing this study yearly or watch things on the sideline or no way? This is all volunteer work. I mean, you are a structural engineer with a lot of workload. I know, I see you every day, so.
I think our plan right now is just to
get this out.
get the word out, and then take a little bit of step back and focus a little bit again back on the raise and grade report and make sure we keep that updated.
Okay, and if people go to the BSCES.org website, is there a link to this study anywhere on it?
Yes, there should be a link on the
Right.
site.
Okay,
front
so
page.
if you go to the BSCES.org website, we will have a link there, and it's just called Worth the Investment.
I believe so, yeah.
If you
I think
put
the
that
link,
in the
link
search,
is already
it'll come
live,
up.
actually.
It's live. It's right on the front.
Oh, okay, it's right on the front,
Yeah.
so you should find it immediately. But thank you once again for coming on.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Anna.
We'll see you again,
pleasure.
And everybody,
and we'll see you next
see
month.
you next month.
Next month, ciao.
Thanks.
Thank you.